Can you see the slides now? Is it visible to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So we were talking of why we are going. What are the different applications of the ethanols we are going to look into, and how what are the steps and strategies that we are going to use to means for the production of this ethanol. So first we will look into the for example upstream processes that are there. Okay, then we'll go for the midstream process, which is the fermentation. There we will look into what are the reactor configurations and the reactor types that are used. And then once, for example, you have produced the ethanol, you have to separate it from the microbial system or the culture, right? So then we have to selectively choose the downstream processing. So what are the different downstream processing that are they are like for if you need to you are going first you have to go for the filtration to remove the the microbial biomass. Then you have to go, for example, in this case of the ethanol, because ethanol is a volatile product. So generally, we go for the distillation to distill out the ethanols. Okay, and then after distillation, we do it another second batch of distillations to improve the quality or the purity of the ethanol. So we look into that how what are the distillation stages that are required. Okay, and let us start with this. Let us start with the overall view of what is the solvent fermentation. So, if you see any type of this ethanol production or any type of the alcohol production as such, so this type of fermentation is actually called as the solvent fermentations because these are traditionally some of the solvents that are used in the very much in larger volumes in the industries. Okay, so starting if you see the some of the different types of the alcohol or the solvents that are being used or the organic solvents that are used in the industries and that can actually be produced by the microorganisms are like the butanol, acetone, isopropanol, 1,3,1,2, propanediol, and 2,3-butene-diol. So these are, if you see, mostly other than just the acetone, the mostly all of the alcoholic less chemicals, alcohols basically, which are means actually produced at larger volumes and they are needed by the industries at a commercial scale. So earlier it was actually being produced through the chemical processes, but generally with the improvement in the yield and the quality and yield and the purity of the biological roots. Okay, so now the shifting of the production of this type of chemicals is actually carried out through the biological routes. So one of the main is the ethanol production. Okay, so that we are going to obviously study it in detail. But the next thing part that we are going to study is the acetone butanol production. So the acetone butanol production actually is it is a combined production of the two things. Okay, so it is that's why together it is called as a acetone and butanol fermentation. Okay, so both the acetone and the butanol is produced in a single fermentation stage, depending upon the process conditions. That we will look into that how both acetone and the butanol are being produced. And if you see the acetone, isopropanol, like if you have worked in the labs, research labs, in any wet labs, for example, so these acetone, isopropanol are very much widely used. Okay, so so that is why all these type of organic solvents that is being produced is actually classified under a term which is called as a solvent production. Okay, and if you see that first of the means some of the first microbial species which were actually producing the solvent, these different type of solvent like acetone, butanol, and so such that in such type of solvents at a first time under the industrial scale. Actually, it was the species of the Clostridia. So, Clostridia is one of the microbial species which is known to produce the acetone and the butanol these biochemicals. Okay, so it is called acetone butanol, and sometimes it is also called as a ABE fermentation. So ABE fermentation is the acetone butanol and ethanol fermentation process, where the conversion and production of the acetone, butane, and ethanol, for example, are actually correlated. Now, if you see that these different butanol or these alcohols and isopropanol, so they are actually some sort of an means they have an application in the automobile fuel, and because of this, it has received much of the attention. So, as I already discussed, that the ethanol production is now at a very larger scale because the main objective is to replace the whatever the petroleum products that we are using. The main aim is to replace it at a by the volume of 20%. Okay, by 2020, as per the government of India rules and regulations. So we need to come up with several biorefineries. Okay, a lot of biorefineries are already in place. Some of them are like in the NRL, which is one of the numerical refineries limited. So they means now biorefineries are actually being set up by these petroleum industries itself. Okay, so which is now using some sort of a different agriculture source or some sort of other type of sources for the production of the ethanol. Okay, so so that is one of the target to to produce this type of alcoholic components. Okay, because they generally are known to have the higher calorific value. Okay, as well as the higher octane number. Okay, so we will look into these properties, but you should know by now that because they have the higher calorific value and higher octet number, because of these two properties, can act as a replacement to the petroleum-based products. Okay, so what is the overall focus? The overall focus is to use, as I suggested, to use the less expensive raw materials. Okay, a higher final product concentration and the bacterial stains that are more amenable to the genetic manipulation. So as I told you, like if you want to go for any industrial production of any particular biochemical, you have to make sure that these three criterias are there. So suppose you means in your for example in your exams or in your quizzes, you might be given some of the choices like like you have to design or select appropriate substrate for the any type of fermentations such that it can be economically feasible for the industrial scale. So in that you have to always find out a particular substrate which is having the raw material should be less expensive. Okay, among that, and you have to find a technique by which you can obtain to get. So technique means the what are the different downstream processes are there, right? So we know different what is the efficiency of different downstream processings that we are going to look actually, and from that you have to select the downstream processes appropriately so that we get a very high final product concentration, and then you have to select the different strategies of modifying the bacterial stains through genetic modifications that will actually lead to the upregulation of a particular gene which is responsible for the ethanol production. So the what is the upregulation of the gene that you are going to understand once we look into the biochemical pathway. So this biochemical pathway actually it is a cascade of different reactions are there, a series of reactions. So each reaction is being controlled by the different genes and the enzymes and the cofactor. So by maintaining these adequate growth media components, okay, as well as the proper genetic manipulations, we can overall increase the productivity of the bacterial stains. Okay, so this is the three main strategies that are there that is required to develop this type of in type of the alcoholic derivatives for the industrial fermentation processes. Now, if you see the general route of or what are the sources of the ethanol fermentation, so let us now move from the solvent fermentation. So, under solvent fermentation, there are different classifications. That is a butanol, acetone, isopropanol, 1,3,1,2 propanediol, butanediol, ethanol production, and so on. So, we will start with this in the ethanol fermentation, and then we will move to the acetone and butanol fermentation in our subsequent classes. Okay. So if you see in the case of the ethanol fermentation, what is the conditions, okay, and what are the sources of the microorganisms that are there. So if you look into the conditions, so generally we know that microorganisms can grow either in the presence of oxygen. In that case, it is called as a aerobic organism microorganisms, or is also, and if means in if any fermentation product is being produced under the in the presence of the oxygen, it is known as aerobic fermentation process, right? So in the case of this aerobic fermentation process, what is the microorganisms do? The microorganisms grow on the sugars like, for example, the glucose, fructose, sucrose, and so any type of sugar derivatives that are there. So they grow in the presence of these sugars, in the presence of the oxygen, and because the oxygen is being present, okay. So what happens? This particular sugar, the carbon that is backbone that is present in the suppose the glucose molecules, they are completely oxidized, resulting in the formation of the carbon dioxide and the water. So whatever the carbons, the six C carbon rings, for example, in the case of the glucose, all of them is, for example, is converted into the or oxidized into the carbon dioxide water because of the presence of the oxygen. But there are microorganisms that we have seen are some microorganisms are actually anaerobic in nature. Okay, so anaerobic means they grow in the absence of the oxygen. Okay, so those type of microorganisms actually they also utilize the sugars as their carbon source, but actually this leads to the partial oxidation of the compounds because the oxygen is not present. So what happens? Whatever the sugars are there, they are partially oxidized into some other form of the compounds. Okay, and generally in the case of the ethanol fermentation or ethanol production, what is happening? The glucose is or any other type of sugars, they are partially oxidized into the organic compounds and end up into formation of the ethanol. Okay, and along with the ethanol, there is some production of the other type of organic acids. Okay, so we will look into that. Means in any biochemical pathway, if you look into that, means the once, for example, any particular microorganism is utilizing, for example, the glucose. Okay, so it is not like that it is going to produce 100% ethanol. Okay, through that particular biochemical pathway, there might be production of other type of other organic acids like the lactic acid, citric acid, other type of alcohols also in between, like 1,3-propane-diol and so such type of derivatives that are there. So generally, to overcome that production of any other bioproducts, what we do, we tune the biochemical pathway of the particular microorganisms by addition of a certain type of cofactors, enzymes, or by some genetic manipulation, such that upregulation of your targeted or the selected pathway is actually been done. Okay, so that is something very much important, and that is one of the strategy by which we can actually improve the yield of the ethanol. So one of the important point that to be noted is that the production of the ethanol actually is taken place under the anaerobic conditions. Okay, so this is because of the partial oxidation of whatever the sugars that is there as a carbon source. Okay, and that in some into the formation of the ethanol. So also in this case of the under the anaerobic growth, actually it leads to the production of the electrons. Okay, and these electrons are accepted by the organic acceptors to produce the ethanol as an end product. So this line may look to be a bit confusing for you, all of you, but we'll just we'll look into this biochemical pathway, and then you can understand. So in the whenever the biochemical pathways, there is always the transfer of the electrons takes place. Okay, and in this case of this anaerobic growth, the transfer of or the production of the electrons, whatever the electrons are being produced, they are accepted by the organic acceptor. So one of the organic acceptor is the NAD plus. Okay, so which converts into the NADH plus, and then actually helps in the production of the ethanol. So I will understand this point when we look into the biochemical pathway. But if you look into the what are the microorganisms which are producing means the ethanol. So ethanol is produced, for example, of by different type of microorganisms. So it can be produced, for example, by the Saccharomyces cerevisiae, which is a nothing but a yeast, or it can be produced by the Xenomonas mobilis, Clostridium, or E. coli, so which is some sort of a bacteria. So let us first look into that. What are the different sources of the organisms? Means what are the different organisms that are there, which can actually produce the ethanol, and what is the advantage and the disadvantage of them. So if you see, so this table actually differentiates the merits demerits of the of a yeast And among the yeast, we have this Saccharomyces cerevisiae is actually very well known and most widely used. This particular strain is used for the production of the alcohol. And here we have the one of the bacteria, Gymnomonas mobilis. And here we have the another type of bacteria which is a thermophilic. So we have already talked that generally there are some bacteria which can grow at a higher temperature conditions. Okay, so generally in the case of the ethanol fermentations, generally it actually when the fermentation is there, a lot of heat is released because it is an exothermic process. So generally we would like to have develop a microbial strain which can grow at a higher temperature. So that is one of the objectives. So therefore, some of the thermophilic species are also used or selected for the production of the ethanol. So if you look into the merits of the Saccharomyces cerevisiae, it is have alcohol yield of almost 90%. Okay, and also have a high tolerance of the ethanol. So generally, in the production of the fermentation of the ethanol, what is happening? So we have already seen, like we have talked probably, like generally the product that is being produced may have some inhibitory effect. So when we have studied the batch, fed batch, and the perfusion reactors, we have already discussed that sometime the product that is being produced, for example, by the particular microbes, may turn out to be inhibitory. Okay, depending upon once it overcomes a particular concentration value. So there is, for example, what is the maximum concentration that the particular microorganisms can tolerate. It also means it depends on also the product concentration as well as on the substrate concentration. So in the case of the ethanol, there is at a high tolerance in means if it is around the range of 10%. Okay, so 10% is only so if you do, suppose you started your fermentation, okay, and after, for example, T is equal to 10 hours, you have reached ethanol production of like 10%, and after that it goes to suppose the 15% in next 15 hours, for example. So generally, what will we find that in next 20 hours, the ethanol production rate is going to decrease. So this is because it has crossed the threshold limit of the 10%. Okay, and after that, the inhibitory effect of the ethanol will start to have effect on the growing microorganisms. Okay, so that is why in the case of this type of Saccharomyces cerevisiae, the maximum tolerance of the ethanol is 10% volume by volume in that particular bioreactor. Okay, so in the case of this bacteria, however, if you see the ethanol yield, the yield is actually significantly higher. That it is 97%, and as well as the ethanol tolerance is also significantly higher to, for example, the 14%. Okay, and for example, in this case, sorry, in this case. Whatever this Saccharomyces cerevisiae is producing the ethanol, it is naturally adapted. That means it is naturally known to produce the ethanol, and we don't need to make any changes in the biochemical pathways that is there. Okay, and mostly if you see some of the, now if you compare with the case of this Gymnomonas mobitilis or any sort of a bacteria, not all bacteria actually are known to produce the ethanol. Some of the bacteria like E. coli, and they need to be genetically modified with the genes and that are responsible for the production of the ethanol. So which sometimes selectively cut out a particular desired gene fragment from this type of yeast, and then we insert it into the E. coli to define the genetic engineering approaches, and we then modify them so that they starts to produce the production of, for example, the alcohols. If you look into the demerits, okay, so they are don't not able to ferment the xylulose and the aluminose. Okay, and they don't have are not able to survive the high temperature, able to survive high temperature of the fermentation or the suppose the hydrolysis. So we'll look into what is the hydrolysis and why it is important to have these xylulose and aluminose, means why these two sugars are there. So generally, as I talked about means in the first slide, that whenever we are talking about the fermentation of this type of ethanol, generally we are going to use the agricultural biomass. Okay, suppose you have a lot of rice husk, or after the rice is being grown, or the sugarcane bagasse, or any other biomass that is there. So this biomass actually, as I discussed in earlier, they composed of three main components. The first component is the cellulose. Okay, and the second component is the lignin. Okay, and the third component is the hemicellulose. Okay, so if you see that, if you use so cellulose is what, nothing but it is a long chain of the glucose. Okay, so this long chain of glucose cannot be utilized by the microbes as a carbon source. So what we do, we take the initial biomass, okay, and we hydrolyze. So what is the hydrolyze means? Hydrolysis means that we take the we convert these long chains of cellulose that is there to the small monomer of the glucose. Okay, then only this glucose will be taken up by the microbes for the fermentation. Okay, so while doing that, what is happening, when you are hydrolyzing the cellulose, we get the glucose, but when we along with that, we have the lignin and the hemicellulose also present. Okay, so when we are hydrolyzing, for example, the hemicellulose, then there is a production of the 5-ring structure of the xylose. Okay, so generally the glucose is the 6-carbon ring structure, and if you take the hemicellulose, generally we get the xylose, which is a 5-carbon structure. Okay, and if they are, suppose if you see the composition of the things, each and individual component, cellulose is generally present at a concentration of 50 to 60%. Okay, the hemicellulose is present at 10 to 15%. Okay, and the rest of the lignin. So if you see 60 to almost 20 to 30% of the lignin of the biomass consists of the lignin. So the fraction of the this type of xylose, or the fraction of the aluminose that originates from the hemicellulose and the lignin, is actually significantly higher. Okay, so if this fermentation, if this particular yeast is not able to utilize this xylose and the aluminose for the production of the ethanol, then we are actually losing about a quite good amount of like 40% of our initial substrate for the conversion of the ethanol. So that is a major disadvantage or the demerit of this particular process. Okay, and whatever this high temperature of the hydrolysis. So generally hydrolysis is carried out at high temperature of, for example, at 70 degree or 80 degrees Celsius. For the hydrolysis, we require this amount of temperature. So at that temperature, we cannot actually simultaneously hydrolyze and carry out the fermentations. Okay, so because of this thing only, these thermophilic species are used. Okay, where they are resistant to high temperature, about 70 degrees. So what will happen if we have microorganisms which are resistant to this high temperature? Then the combined hydrolysis as well as the fermentation of these type of biomass can actually be directly being can be carried out together. Okay, so that is why we would like to have microspecies which can grow at a very high temperature. Now, if you look into the disadvantage of the Gymnomonas mobilis, is that it is again having that not able to ferment the xylulose, but it has a ability to ferment, for example, the aluminose. Okay, and they also have a low tolerance to the the inhibitors. So the inhibitors that are being produced in the fermentations, the microbes, this particular bacteria cannot grow under that conditions. And if you see the thermophilic species, there are some bacteria which are thermophilic in nature. Okay, and they are known to produce the ethanol, or sometimes this genetic modification is being carried out by modifying, for example, the E. coli with a gene which is responsible for the ethanol production, as well as a gene which makes it thermotolerant. Okay, like that makes it resistant to grow at a very high temperature. So generally, by combination of genetic engineering approaches, these things are carried out. So we'll look into that technique, how these genetic modification, mutations, and this gene transfer through the RDNA technology is actually being carried out to improve the microbial stains for the production of this ethanol. But this also process have some of the disadvantage that, as I told, some of the organic acids are produced, are some of the byproducts, and they have a low tolerance to the ethanol. So whatever the ethanol is being produced, so generally if with the fermentation with time we know that the productivity of the ethanol is going to increase. Okay, but at a higher concentration of ethanol, it is going to inhibit the growth of this type of thermophilic species. Now, so this is the case for the different microorganisms. So this is so I have taken the three microorganisms, which is one of the most widely used for the ethanol production, and we discussed about the merits and the demerits of that. Okay, so generally we would like to have overcome the demerits, so that both the productivity, yield, quality of this ethanol is produced at the higher end, as well as it can be, means the quality can be maintained for the longer duration of time during the fermentation processes. Because as I told you, one of the major challenges why, for example, the ethanol is means has been so late in coming up as a fuel. So ethanol is nothing. Fermentation is nothing new. Okay, but still, why not the ethanol has not hit the market at a very prominently. It is because of the this type of demerits that are there with this type of microorganisms which has been used for the ethanol fermentation. Along with that, the another major issue is the biomass. Okay, so generally the biomass that you take, for example, you take the rice husk, sugarcane, or for example any other biomass. So they are actually having a different composition of the cellulose, lignin, and the hemicellulose. Okay, and we need to optimize, or we need to tune our process parameters for each and every biomass that is there. So it makes it overall a very complex process to be scalable by by the industrial processes or at an industrial level. So that has limited actually the productivity of or the utilization of the production of the ethanol. But now some of the technologies has been developed which can actually overcome these challenges that are there, and that is why there is now a growing trend to use these type of ethanols for the fuel additives. Okay, so we look into this how means these problems have been, or these demerits have been overcome. So before that, we will look into the substrate. So one of the important thing for whenever you are going to start a fermentation is you have to first of all prepare the media components. So you know your microorganisms that are there. Okay, you know these microorganisms. For example, if you want to start a ethanol fermentation plant, or even in your lab you want to make ethanol. So what you will do, you will get you will find the particular microorganisms. You find the genus name, the species name. You get the microorganisms from the cell culture banks that are there in India or outside. You find that by using your this SSN number. Particular microorganisms have their own number, as I told you. It is represented in the database. So once you get the microorganisms, you have to now select the substrate. That is what is the growth media components that you are going to give. What is the carbon source, nitrogen source, okay, that you are going to add. That will make it make the ideal substrate has to be there, so that the growth of the microorganisms takes place. Now, if you see the different substrate. So generally, they microorganisms in this particular case, they are going to use the organic compounds. Okay, and a diverse, a different type of organic compounds are actually utilized. So if you see the agricultural products, so as I have talked about, the most of the agricultural products that are used for the ethanol fermentations, they are the sugarcane, okay, the sugar beet, grains, corn, potato are the major agricultural products that has been used. So one of the thing is we generally would not like to use the agricultural products, because if we are using the agricultural products directly, obviously the overall cost will be higher, and then there will be some challenges in the overall availability of the food. So generally, whenever we talked about these agricultural products, or we had already talked about the waste of this type of agricultural products, okay, which is coming from the sugarcane and the sugar beet, the grains. The grains generally have the husk, the corns. The corns have a lot of unused part after the corns have been removed. Then we have the potato waste from the potato industry, and so all this the waste can be used as a carbon source for the as a substrate. Okay, but they require some sort of a pre-treatment. So they cannot be used directly for the source of food. So they require different pre-treatments. So we'll look into the different pre-treatments that are there in the next slide. So like this, so this is the agricultural rich product. There are some of the fermentable substances are some sort of a polymers. Okay, the polymers is, as I told you, they are nothing but the long chain of the monomeric units, like the cellulose. We have a long chain of the glucose units that are there. Okay, similarly we have the sucrose. The sucrose is also their starch is there, which is made up of the alpha glucose. Then we have the lactose, where we have lactose is a disaccharide having one of the unit as a glucose and another as a galactose, right? So this type of polymeric sugars are there, but these polymeric sugars has to be broken down actually into the monosaccharides or into the monomeric units. Okay, before the fermentation is actually carried out. So so like this, if you see the case of the cellulosic rich materials, now the cellulose can actually come from the different source. So generally, cellulose can come from, for example, that is I talked about the rice straw, the timber cuttings, that the waste from the furniture or the wood industries that they are, the rice hulks and the newspaper. So even for example, the waste newspaper that is being thrown away or waste papers that is being generated means after their use of any paper-based packagings or anything. So those all those things can be actually used as a substrate for the production of the ethanol. Okay, so some of the most widely used other agriculture product is the sugarcane husk and sugar beet wastes. Okay, because they contain the one of the sugar which is a sucrose. So sucrose is nothing but a it's a disaccharide. Okay, so this disaccharide means it contains two monosaccharides, and the two monosaccharides are the glucose and the fructose. Okay, so both the glucose and the fructose can actually individually be used for as a carbon source. Okay, for the production of the ethanol. However, the pathway for the utilization of the glucose and means there is a very slight change by which the glucose and fructose can be metabolized, and generally it is one of the best source for the industrial ethanol production. Okay, so a lot of the biorefineries which are coming up, especially in India, especially in the state of UP, we have mostly they are using the sugarcane husk and the waste as their means waste for the production of the ethanol. Then along with that, the sugarcane industries also produces one of the waste which is called as a molasses, and they are very much rich in this glucose units. Okay, and they are generally one of the byproducts. So we are generally using the waste of any particular sugar industries for the production of this type of ethanol. So generally, the utilization of the cellulose or any other sugars, it requires some of the chemical, physical, and the biological treatment. Okay, so which is actually in combination is actually called as the hydrolysis of the complex sugar. So hydrolysis, as the name suggests, it means it breaks down the long polymeric chain into the monomeric fragments, and there are different techniques of doing that. Okay, and there are different units of means if you take for example the sucrose, then what are the enzymes you are use, or suppose so there can be two different routes. One route is called the enzymatic. Okay, and the other route is the through so enzymatic is actually a biochemical route. Another is a pure chemical route actually by which the hydrolysis of this can be carried out. And once you hydrolyze it, at the end the main target is to receive the glucose monomeric units and some other type of sugar derivatives that are there, which can be utilized into the for example the biochemical pathway of this ethanol fermentation process. So we will keep our discussions till this today. So anyone any question or doubt? Yes, hello. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
So
Yes.
okay. So if there is no questions, so let us continue our class and discussion in the next class. Okay. So thank you everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.